look at it, you can see the spinal cord inside the vertebral foramen. This is the body of the vertebra. If we look at the ridges along here, these are the meninges. So this outer covering is the dura mater. The one in the middle with the space is the arachnoid, and the one that adheres directly to the spinal cord is the pia mater. You have a spinal nerve, and this spinal nerve has two parts to it, the sensory portion and the motor portion. The sensory portion is the dorsal. So the part that's closest to the spine, the spinous process of the vertebra, that sticks out the back. So this is anterior where the body is, this is posterior where the spinous process is. And the dorsal route, or posterior route, has its cell bodies on the outside of the central nervous system. And it's in what's called the dorsal root ganglion. The dorsal root then comes in and synapses on the spinal cord at the location of the posterior horn. So these little parts of gray matter on the inside are referred to as horns. You have the dorsal horn, or posterior, the ventral or anterior horn, and the lateral horn on either side. As you look inside the spinal cord, it's backwards to the brain and cerebellum, so far as white and gray is concerned. So here you have white matter on the outside and gray matter on the inside. Well, here the white matter is for communication, and that's the main function of the spinal cord, is communication between the peripheral nerves and the brain. So you've got lots and lots of white matter on the outside of this spinal cord. The gray matter is interneurons. So if integration can take place at the level of the spinal cord, it's the interneurons in this gray matter that makes the decisions. Incoming information comes into the posterior horn, synapses on the interneurons, and if it is integrated at the level of the spinal cord, passes through the cell bodies of the anterior or ventral route, which have their cell bodies inside the central nervous system. Then it passes out through the ventral route, which is the motor route. So the dorsal is sensory, the ventral is motor. In addition to the horns on the inside of the spinal cord, you have a fissure and you have a sulcus. The anterior median fissure is much deeper than the posterior median sulcus. Connecting the two hemispheres is the gray commissure. Then this little strip of gray matter that runs between the two hemispheres, and right in the center of the gray commissure is the central canal, and the central canal carries the cerebrospinal fluid from the brain down through the spinal cord and then back up through the meninges to the dural sinuses for disposal. So the spinal cord's easy, but you do need to know the parts. There is another one that is on